Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of The Big Money Stylist. We are on episode number 51. Can you believe 51?
There's 52 weeks in a year. It's been almost a year.
Oh my God, we are consistent. And you know what? Maybe we should just talk about, that should be our topic for today is, where are you not consistent in your business or in life? And what is that costing you? That's good.
I like this.
Let's do it. We're going to open up the show with staying consistent and seeing where it takes you.
And it can even be consistency in things in life as well. It doesn't just have to be business.
Right.
Because really, I can tell you the one thing I am terribly not consistent at.
Washing your hair.
I am
I'm just kidding.
consistent about washing my hair.
I have a dirty ponytail today, so I can't talk.
I mean, my hair is freshly washed. I don't know who you're talking to.
I know. I was like when I came in, I was like, oh, it's so bright. Don't you love when people are like, your hair looks really good? And you're like, thank you, I washed it. Or, did you have your color done? No, it's clean.
I also did tone it this morning, so thank you. Yes, nailed it.
I did not.
Oh, it's cool. We're about to do it, so don't worry. I am very inconsistent, number one, at drinking water. I'm terrible at it.
Me too.
So bad. And that's so unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what a client told me the other day?
What?
Did you know that dehydration, I believe she said, can lead to
all sorts of cancer,
dementia, and Alzheimer's?
Oh, I believe it. Well, I feel like I have Alzheimer's sometimes, but then I think it's just working mom brain.
That might just be you, Danielle.
No, it's not just me. It's working mom brain. Like 2 kids. And it's just, you
and a running business, and employees.
You start to forget shit. So, it is what it is.
If you don't remember, it just must not be that important.
Water is, you need to drink water.
I know,
I'm
trying.
I was joking around at the salon the other day because, hairdressers, it sounds silly, but, actually opening the cap and drinking your water, you're like, that's way too much work. We take our phone and our bottle of water into the bathroom, and as we're peeing, we're drinking and answering text messages. We're like, oh, it feels so good to sit for 5 minutes.
And then you're like, I've been in here way too long. God, I gotta go back out now.
Yeah. It's true, though. And then, you're so dehydrated. I know, hairdressers are bad. I think that we should be, allowed some kind of, an IV.
IV?
Yeah, I was like, what is that called? A little IV but you know what? Then we'd have to pee all the time. And that's sad, but hairdressers, I literally don't drink a lot of water because I have to pee all the time and I would just be there's no good time.
No, never.
No, you can barely make time to eat.
You're do I stop foiling now or do I not base?
And then it just gets to the point where you're mid-foil and you're like, excuse me.
I really have to go. I'm so sorry. Bye.
Yeah, there's no good time.
That one's bad. I've tried to reel it in, though. I've started actually buying the liter Fiji bottle waters. And I know technically by size and weight, I should be drinking 1.5 of those every day. But I'm we can just get through one.
Yeah, that's good. The really big ones.
Yeah.
That's good, too, because I feel like when you bring a small bottle, I open multiple and then I'm like, where's my water? Where's my water? And yeah, this is sad, but I'm excited if I drink 1 small bottle of water in the afternoon.
I'm excited if I drink a cup of water.
Oh my God.
I have been scolded left and right for this. It's so bad. And now even today I have a green drink, which I didn't even get
that.
this.
I was like, wow, I have an empty.
It was brought to me. I didn't go get it.
I was like, good job. Were you? Because the other day I was giving Ani shit. I was like, she was eating a bag of cookies. And I did have one. I shared a bag of cookies with her. But still, I was like, I swear every time I see you, you're eating shit. I'm like, you can't function. And that's the problem. A lot of hairdressers do that as well. They literally eat nothing all day, or they eat a peanut, or they have half a protein shake, or they have 1 bar. And then they're just their eyes are twitching at the end of the day. And they're like, I'm fine. And they work 12-hour days. And then they go home and eat one shitty meal. And then they wonder why they're overweight. They're like, whoa, or they're underweight, or they're just malnourished, or you know what I mean? Everybody's body's different, but hairdressers have the worst eating habits ever.
And it's crazy. You know what? I actually feel like I have pretty decent eating habits. It just so happens I do like sweets. But I'll wake up.
You are a sweets person.
I am. Thank you. That's how I stay
I'm a
so
savory
sweet.
person.
Oh, I like sweet and salty. If you give me a chocolate-covered pretzel, girl.
Ooh, that I do like that. Yes, I do. But I would go for a bag of chips over a bag of cookies any day.
Wait, what's your favorite kind of chip?
I really like sour cream and onion. Or, you know what? A good Funyun.
Really?
Yeah, it's
oh
so
my
gross.
God. They're so smelly.
I don't discriminate. I also like Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos. I like all chips.
I can't get on board the Frito train because it's just they're so
Ooh, Maui
aggressive.
onion chips. I could go on. If somebody wants to just send me a giant box of assorted chips. Canada has ketchup chips. Canada has really cool chips.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. It's a box of chips.
Yes, just send me a box of chips. I'm good to go.
What do you get a millionaire? Box of chips.
Yes. Woo! And some Gucci's. Just kidding. Okay, let's move. We're so
really
far off in
okay,
left lane.
I am inconsistent with drinking water.
Yes.
And I'm inconsistent with working out, which can really fuck you up when you're on your feet all day.
You know what? This sounds really stupid, but I'm really consistent, not with drinking water, but I'm pretty damn consistent with working out.
Yes, I see it every morning.
Well, you know what? And I don't even work out that hard. Like, it's really weird. And I stopped thinking it as a workout for me. And I know everyone's like, oh, it's a lifestyle. I'm like, I hate that. I'm like, no. Like, for me, like, I wake up and I'll feel like, some days I feel like, I'm like, oh, I feel like wah, wah. And I don't want to go into work feeling like, and so it's funny, but I live on the beach and it's hard not when it's sunny. You're like, oh, let's get outside. But I'll literally some mornings just do this 15-minute jog. It's probably not more than a mile. That's not much of a workout, but it's enough where it like wakes me up. Like I get my thoughts together. I sweat a tiny bit. Like my brain's on point. And for me, I'm like, I have a cup of coffee when I wake up, but instead of having another cup of coffee or like a double shot, I have one small cup of coffee and then I do this little loop. And that's usually typically what I do on the days I work. And then like today, because I'm not in the salon, I'll do like a longer workout. I'll maybe do like, but nothing too strenuous because like, I don't know. I'm not like a CrossFitter or anything. Like I like just enough to like keep me healthy and keep in shape and that kind of thing. And I do that at least 3 to 5 days a week. And sometimes it's just a 15-minute thing. And that's why it's so funny when people are like, oh, I need to work out. I'm like, you're overthinking it. Like people think they need to do like this hour-and-a-half yoga class or this like, they think that they have to, you know what I mean? They like, I'm like, no, what if you just, everybody has an extra 15 minutes. Get off your fucking phone. You were just scrolling through Instagram for a good
35 minutes.
Yeah. Like you can turn your brain on by literally like throwing on a hoodie, going outside and going for a quick jog. You'll A, like feel better about yourself, and B, you'll perform better at work regardless of what you do. So like for me, it's like, that's why working out is so important because it mentally gets me on point. And I used to be like a little obsessive about it, but that didn't serve me either because I got so obsessive to the point where if I didn't get a workout in, that determined my day. And then I was just like a bitch to everybody around me because I was fucking pissed that I didn't get my workout in. So there's definitely this ebb and flow and this balance to like creating your own balance within your life that sets your day up for success.
And see, for me, when I'm better now working out than I definitely was this past summer. This past summer, I was like, you will not convince me to do anything remotely athletic.
Yeah.
But even now, like, I'll do maybe like 20 minutes of like yoga, Pilates, or just like something small.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, if you try to get me to wake up and then get dressed, then go drive to the gym, and then actually, nope.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen.
It's too much. Yeah. That's why but living in California, well, you know what? I lived in Utah too where like it snowed. I don't, if it wasn't like a slushy snow down storm, I would go out and walk like all the time.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying you can get DVDs at your house. Like after my first baby, like this is like kind of off topic, but I got a bunch of Jillian Michaels DVDs. Like I just was like, cool. And I'd get in my theater and like do a little 15-minute warm up with a DVD. Like, you know what I mean? You can always do something. So, and it does, I will say hairdressers, like we're on our feet all day and you need to tighten your core and you have to physically be in good strength so you can deliver your clients just good results. Like you just do. Like if you feel better, like you're gonna again do better in work. So
well, and it sounds crazy, but even coming down to like a weight thing, like everybody, their comfortable weight is totally different for everybody. But when you're overweight, that's really hard on you when you're standing on your feet for 12 hours.
Yes,
that will kill you.
I've had people. I mean, I have a shadowing program, and I've had women come shadow me and assist me that are a little bit overweight, and I can tell like their stamina is not as high. Like it's hard for them to stand all day, and like I've never been like. I've never been overweight, so I can't really relate, but I have noticed like they're kind of wanting to take breaks more and things like that. So that definitely has something to do. I mean, it's hard to stand on your feet all day. Like it just
period.
Is.
No matter the weight, it's just hard.
Yeah, totally. So anyways, working out. Is that one of are you going to be more consistent next year?
Yes, that is my biggest thing for next year. I'm like, I have got to be, and you would think I'd be more consistent because it's tracked with Core 4.
Yeah.
But then some days I'm just like, oh, wah, didn't make that part. Oops.
Yeah.
I'll stack and I'll journal and I'll do like all my daily deposits. But let me tell you, when it comes to that working out, I'm like, never mind. I had filthy jokes for that, but so back to consistency.
It's true. Diet and working out. Like I'm not great with my diet, but I try to like those things like really make an impact on how you perform in work. You know what I mean? So it's hard, but I think hairdressers, from what I've seen, have awful habits. Like they'll get their giant Starbucks, and that's what they'll have all day.
That's it. The one Starbucks.
The one fucking Starbucks, and I'm like, oh my God, those bags are like indenting in your face right now. You need water and sustenance. You need some food. Like, it's crazy.
It's insane. And really, if you have time to take a sip of your coffee, you have time to take a sip of water.
Yeah, you'll actually be healthier. And like for me, I actually started to gain weight when I don't eat all day. Like if I have to eat. Like if I eat, I don't eat as much at night and I maintain a healthier weight. So I feel like this is like turned into a fitness show.
I know, kind of. But you know what? I actually eat about every 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like not like huge, gigantic meals, but it's like legitimate food, not just like cookies or chocolate, I swear. But even with that, my ex-fiance, because he was in physical therapy, he told me, he's like, that's one of the reasons you stay so thin.
Yeah, because your metabolism's going.
It's always working.
Yep. I know. I always tell people, I'm like, don't not eat. You'd be better off to put something in your mouth than nothing. Like, well, that sounds dirty. Okay. Disregard that. No, but like, I gotta reel it back in on that one.
Dang it.
You gotta put some food in your mouth versus nothing. And like, oftentimes, like, we'll keep string cheese, beef jerky, like, protein's really good. Like, sometimes I want a bar, like, bag of chips. I'm not gonna lie, I eat a bag of chips a lot.
So then what do you think, so obviously other than eating, let's talk business-wise. What do you think artists are the most inconsistent with?
You know what? It's funny because you'll have people, even with inside of our Big Money Stylist program, it's like business training for hairstylists, and the tool we use is Natural Beaded Rose. And it's so funny because people come into the business side of things and we'll tell them what to do, and a lot of times they'll do it, but then we've had students in the past who literally don't do anything, and then it's like 3 months goes by, and 6 months goes by, and 9 months goes by, and you're like, you're one of those people who took a course, who wanted to make changes, who sat on the sidelines and cheered everybody on. That doesn't mean you did anything. And so you have to literally look at where you're at. I had a girl who came and sat in my chair this week. She was a hairstylist. I did her hair. She was like super excited. She's like, oh my God, I want to learn these.
Was it the blonde?
Yeah, she was
cute. So
she
cute.
was really cute. But she was like, your education sold out. And so I was like, shoot, I'm going to come down here and get my hair done. And she was like super pumped. And she was like telling me how she's a single mom, has 3 kids, super cute, owns a salon. She's like telling me how she works like these crazy hours. And I'm like, well, what's your focus, you know? And she's like, well, I do men. She's like, I don't want to do any more men's cuts and kids cuts. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're still doing men's cuts and kids cuts and grandma's cuts and dogs cuts and who knows what else, perms, eyebrow waxes, toe waxes. Like, you're doing the whole shebang. Like, sweetheart, like, there's things you can do, and people will be like, I want to get into your education. And I was like, my education is sold out. Don't wait. And I told her when she left, I said, there is 100% things that you know you need to do inside of your business right now. And I'm like, it's not that hard. You need to write down what you need to do and prioritize. What can I do today? Because people get overwhelmed with like, oh my God. And I go, let me guess. You can't let go of the kids cuts because they're some of your best clients' kids cuts. And she's like, yes. And I was like, okay, well, it's not that hard. I guarantee you, like, you're emotionally getting in it more than your clients are. All you have to do is say, hey, I'm no longer taking kids cuts. I'd love to refer you to somebody else. You know what I mean?
Done.
But honestly, you need to get kids cuts out of your salon. So it's not, I mean, I'm like super firm with it. Like, I'll have clients, not all the time, but I used to, and they'd be like, can I just bring her in? Can you just do a dust? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, I love kids. I have kids, but I don't even have time for a dust. And I'm like, and trust me, you don't want me to dust your kid's hair. I'm like, I'm multitasking 15 things at a time. I'm for sure going to give them like the ugliest haircut you've ever seen. I'm like, so like, I'd prefer not to cut your kid. Let's keep our relationship good. And I don't want to fuck up your kid's hair. So like, you know what I mean? You just have to, whatever you allow to happen in your business, in your life is your fault because you've allowed it. So you have to take a step back and be like, okay, what can I eliminate in my life right now that's causing me stress that doesn't need to be there? And literally like make a list and prioritize. Women are the best fucking task list people I know.
Ever.
Like, we're just nuts. Like, you give us a list, I'm like, oh, check. We almost like take pride in our list. Like, fuck you, I got my list done. Like, it's almost borderline crazy. Like, I don't know if men do that. But
no, I think women do it.
Yeah, like women literally like compartmentalize, and they have like checklists, and they're just like, yep. And I don't care if you're organized or not. Like, that's just how our brains function. Mm-hmm. And so we take on like so much where you're like, okay, you just need, it's like just prioritize and narrow it down, and then do the numbers. Okay, here's what I need to get rid of, and then say, okay, what is this making me monthly? Okay, well, what would it, if I replaced it with a color, what would that make me monthly? And when you see the numbers, oftentimes you're like, oh, shit. And then it makes it that much easier to be like, hey, Susie, I love you. I'm not cutting your goddamn kid's hair anymore. Like, that's just how it goes down, because you realize how much time you're sacrificing away from your own family for so little. And it's when you see the facts that it really puts you in perspective. And I know you were talking about the fact map. Yeah.
And that's something that, the fact map is something that we do inside of Warrior and BMS. And it's really literally sitting down and looking at facts, which is so difficult for people.
Because people don't want to see where they're really at.
Well, and do you realize, I don't know if you, because we do this inside of like the BMS boot camps as well. And so many people have a hard time of differentiating fact versus feeling.
Yeah.
And they're like, we get along great. I'm like, well, is that like a fact or feeling? They're like, it's, I'm like, well, that's a feeling.
Yeah.
And so to really sit down and be like, okay, I'm too emotional about this. Okay, this is already making me cry. Take a step back, turn around, jump and yell a little bit, get out of that frame of like emotions to really be like, okay, I'm in the salon 6 days a week. I work 12-hour days. I'm taking 7 clients a day. This is how much money I make without being like, I don't make enough.
Or people always justify. They always want to justify, well, I'm only doing this and this and this because on this day I have this. And you're like, don't fucking give me a story or a runaround or an excuse of why you're doing what you're doing. Just give me the facts of what you're doing. And you almost like, you have to emotionally like go into robot mode and be like, list it out.
And that's what I've told people. I'm like, it needs to be bullet point list. I'm like, the minute you start writing sentences is the minute that I know you're going into feelings, because then you're like, well, I work 6 days, but I don't like always work 6 days. I only sometimes work 6 days, but sometimes I work 5 days, but then those 5 days are like 17-hour days. So, but I'm like, what is happening?
You're like, yes or no, check yes or no.
That's literally, I'm like, how many days a week do you work? And they always start with, well, I'm like, no. How many days a week do you work? But when you're able to sit down and really be like, here is 100% where I'm at.
Right.
Working 6 days a week, 12-hour days. I'm taking 7 clients a day. I'm taking home X amount of money per week, X amount of money per month. Like, here's how much I'm making per hour. Here's what I'm paying out. When you really sit down and look at it, that leaves you in a place to be able to figure out, okay, what's working, what's not. Or even like, what has my focus been to actually bring me here today?
Right.
And that's really hard. And even going back to like inconsistency, the biggest thing I think that artists are inconsistent with is marketing, period.
I know. And you know what? I will say it's hard because like I've been actually working more behind the chair in December just because I launched my shadowing program and then I had my regular clients that wanted to get in. Normally, I'm only behind the chair 2 days a week. I take 5 to 6 clients a week. That's it. And I'm always working on my marketing and we're doing the podcast and we have our behind the scenes education that nobody sees. So I'm like always kind of working, but behind the chair only 2 days a week. And with me working more, I was like, oh my God, like I would like come home and I'd be like trying to get a blog post going, trying to get some photos done, like trying to get the podcast in. And I just was like, this is exhausting. And even for, I don't know if you were there. I'm sure you were. Well, you were there at Garrett's big Warrior event.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you remember him saying this. He's like, a lot of times people will like just keep saying, it's okay. And they take on so much work and then they're not making any money. What you should do is like determine what you want to make and then figure out how to get there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And even for me, like going into next year, I was like, okay, we tried out my shadowing program. We're not having any classes, but I don't want to necessarily work 4 days a week behind the chair. And that's what it was turning into, was shadowing. And I was like, so I need to even like do the numbers of like what my time's worth and determine how to get there. You know what I mean? So make a dollar amount and then be like, okay, this is how I get there. This is how I make that a month. And whether it's like 2 shadowing students a month and then just 2 days working behind the chair a month, I have to figure out where my time is most effective. And it always comes down to prioritizing and looking at the numbers and the facts, like laying out the facts. And it's so true even within like with money and business, people will want to be like, oh, I made like $3,000 on that client. And you're like, but are you consistently making $3,000 on every client? That's great that you have one extension client. But our goal is like every client should be your top dollar client. Like that should be your niche. That should be the only thing you should do. And then if you get to the point, we've had stylists in our program who they're killing it, but then they end up going back to working 6 days a week and they're all extensions.
Oh my God, and you're replacing one crazy thing with another.
Yes, and so that doesn't really work either. And so then it's like, okay, you need to look at your time. What are you charging? You're going to lose clients along the way. You're going to have to, cut some off and raise your prices. And then some people will be like, well, I did raise my price and nobody fell off. And you're like, okay, well then guess what? You get to decide what days you're working, what hours you're working, and stick to it and create a price that is worth what you want to make per month, per week, per client, per hour, whatever that looks like. And just say, I'm only working 4 days a week, 9 to 5. That's what I'm going to do. And then figure out what you want to make and how determine your prices and things on that. That's always what I do when we make a price increase at DKW. I'm always like, okay, where are we at right now? What are the facts right now? How long is this taking every artist? What is a safe jump to where like the client's not like, wow, but we can afford, if we lose a few, we lose a few. You know what I mean? And it's always, again, going back to writing down the facts and where you're currently at. So I feel like going into 2019, like I would encourage everybody out there, like it might be hard, it might be ugly. Write down the facts of where you're currently at. And you might be like, shit. Or some of you might be like, I'm awesome. And if that's the case, then be really honest with yourself, because there's always areas to improve.
Well, and I've heard so many artists say, because we've had them always come back and do a fact map at like any convention or intensive, everything like that. And I've even heard people say, they're like, I'm in a good place. I'm not in a bad place. I'm not in a painful place, but I know there's another level.
Yeah.
There is always another level. Not to say you have to be unhappy where you're at to want to achieve more, but stagnant doesn't exist. You're either progressing or regressing. Mm-hmm. So what's the next step? Like, where do you want to hit next?
Right. I think sometimes, like, I like what you just said, because, like, sometimes people, like, I'm good right now. Like, we're doing good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm still like, I almost get a little bit like I want to keep going. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean necessarily that I want to, like, stress myself out more than I currently am. Like, I want to do things smarter. Do you know what I mean? And I think that oftentimes people will kind of get in their little comfort space and be like, nope, this is where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to do. And I get it. Like, sometimes you'll take a break for a year and you'll just kind of, like, go into maintain mode. You know what I mean? And then, like, ultimately, like, you get to this place where nothing really maintains, especially in the salon culture. So say you own a salon, even if it's a small salon, and you, like, have, 4 or 5 people working for you, and you think, oh, we're just floating along maintaining. People are going to move on. Like, it takes a lot to keep a group together. It does. Like, it takes a lot of work. We do team meetings every Monday now, and it just takes, if that's your mentality of just kind of sit back and maintain, you'll lose stylists. And then you'll be put right back into the situation where you're like, fuck, now I got to get 4 more stylists on. Then you'll go through all this emotional shit show in your head, like, I don't want to be a salon owner anymore, and this sucks. But it's because you almost, like, stop trying and you go into maintenance mode. I mean, I've been guilty of that in my own business. And so, like, I like, even how you said, if you're stagnant, you're almost regressing, even if you don't see it. You can become stagnant, and everybody else around you is like, they're, like, going and doing their own thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, I'm fucking out, I'm quitting. You're like, I didn't see that coming, And it's because you kind of go into this maintain mode where you have your eyes closed and you're not necessarily even looking at the facts yourself.
And it's not even that you have to make these giant leaps and bounds every single day, because that's not what it's about. As long as you're doing one tiny little thing every single day, like even at DKW now, like everybody's turning in their work at the end of every week. Yeah. So then I go through and I look at it, I'm like, okay, here are the little things that can be adjusted and jigged. And it's not because to say anybody's work is bad, because everybody's work is amazing, but there can always be one tiny little thing that can switch and make the experience so much better for a client.
For sure. And it's good to be able to, like, take feedback. And I know we did a whole show on that, like, taking feedback and not taking offense to it, because, like, in the world of hair, everybody's like, it's art, and so everybody takes so much offense to, like, feedback. And so it's like, it's just being able to be, like, open and take feedback and learn and grow from it and, like, implement it. You know what I mean? And everybody's gonna see things a little bit different. But
and really, and my big thing is when it comes down to, like, the facts and looking at where you're at and where you're consistent and where you're not consistent, you have to realize, like, you have to be willing to make a change at some point. You cannot be so stubborn or say, like, the biggest thing that just grinds my gears is, well, I don't have time for that. You don't understand. I don't have time. Okay, look. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. And I understand some people might have a little bit more on their plate than others, but at the end of the day, it's prioritizing. Yeah. People love to say, well, I just don't have time. I'm like, no, it's just not a priority to you. Yeah. Which is fine, but just admit it and stop blaming everybody else and everything else in your life.
Right. It's weird though. Like, I always wonder, I'm like, how do they not see it? Like, you can create whatever you want. You can create whatever time you want. Like, you have to be able to, like, look through a different lens, and, like, you can't say I don't have time. Like, when you come into an education program or you buy a software, you can't buy a software and say, well, I don't have time to figure it out, but I bought it. Like, it doesn't matter. That won't really get you anywhere. So you have to be able to invest the time. Just because you bought the tool doesn't mean that you know how to use the tool. You have to be willing to invest the time in order to become an expert in whatever it is you do. And I think that's, like, what happens in life in general is people are like, oh, well, I'm here. I showed up. Nobody cares if you fucking showed up. Like, you've got to be willing to do the actual work and figure it out. And guess what? In the beginning, anything you do, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Anything you do, you're going to suck. And through being consistent, all of a sudden, you're like, I kind of like this. You like it because you're getting good. Like, that's what happened for me in hair. Like, I was like, ooh, I'm super nervous. I fucked up so many ladies' hairs. like hair school, I was like, well, came to hair school, so it's on you. Sorry, I fried your hair off. Like, it's just what it is. And then, like, when you get out into the real world, like, I remember being so nervous going into work every day. And I don't know if you experience this, but I literally, like, my first few years of doing hair, I moved to Vegas. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I got this. And I'd have to, like, pump myself up when I'd be driving to work. And I would just feel, like, this pit and, like, feel sick to my stomach. And I'd be like, oh, my God, why did I choose this job? But then I would get there, and I'd be like, I looked at it as, like, a challenge. You know what I mean? And I wasn't great, but I was like, okay. And then I would get better and get better. And then all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, I was like, I really enjoy doing hair, but it's because I got reps and I got better at doing it. And so that's how everything goes, whether it's marketing, whether it's being on video, whether like anything you do. And it's so funny because we do like the Daily 4 inside of our network. And basically, like, we're like, hey, that's great. With an oversaturated market of social media, of hair photos and any other marketing photos, like, you've got to be willing to put yourself out there, because that's where you connect with people. And that's where people are like, oh my God, like, I really like listening to you. Like, honestly, I feel like our education is when people listening to the podcast and people just, following the pages on social media, and they're like, oh my God, I love you guys. You guys are my people. And so you have to be willing to kind of like really put yourself out there. And it's so funny because people are so worried. I remember when I first launched my YouTube channel, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. And I got on and I did a video, and I was like, this is shampoo and I like it. And it was, I don't even know what I said. Like, I felt like such a dork, and I was trying to be like too professional, and I was like trying to like read the ingredients of the shampoo or whatever. And I was like, so join me wherever I'm at and do your hair. Like, I was like, so I don't even know. And I tell people, I'm like, I'm actually kind of an introvert, and I think a lot of hairstylists are. But the more you put yourself out there, like, the more you get on video, the more you communicate a message, like, the better you get with it, just like you do with hair. So I don't know. I think when people say I can't, it's just because you're not good at it, and you weren't good at hair from the beginning. You maybe like,
God, no,
like, nobody's good at hair.
So
like,
bad.
There's such a science to it. Like, you will fuck people's hair up. Like, it's not like if or when. And most hairstylists, I don't know if you're like this, we had theory. Like, there was like,
oh yeah.
So theory's like the textbooks time during class. And I kid you not, every hairstylist was like, do 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 do. We're very visual, like hands-on people. That's why we're in hair school. And I remember being like, I didn't listen to anything. And then I'd go out and be like, well, let's see if I can do this. You know what I mean? And so
it's called experimenting. Okay,
yeah.
You're in a hair school.
So there's a lot more science to doing hair than people really understand, and it takes a lot to become good at, especially with color, to figure it out, porosity, texture, length, like everything. It takes a lot to become good at hair, and it's never one of those things that you just jump in and you're like, I'm an awesome colorist. Like, it takes time.
Nailed it.
So
here's what I want you guys to do. We are heading now into 2019, and I can hardly believe it. So sit down, get a journal out, and actually start writing down the facts of where you're at inside of your business. And then that will take you to a place where you can actually figure out where is it that you want to go by the end of 2019. What are the goals that you want to hit, the money that you want to be making, the hours you want to be working, the days you want to be working? Like, what does your life actually look like? And from there, you will be able to bridge the gap inside of what you're actually missing. So Danielle, final words.
Yeah, I just think don't be afraid to like go a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Like, there was a time where Garrett and we actually went to this Tony Robbins event. It was called Date with Destiny, and they were like, just dream big, like write down goals you want to hit and just like see what happens. And I was like, okay. And like, it was like somebody gave me permission to like write down and reach past my comfort zone. I was like, okay. And so I wrote down things that I was like, I don't know. They were more like 5-year goals, and we hit every single one of those goals within a 12-month period.
Amazing.
Which was crazy, because we hit one and we were like, all right, well, I did that and that wasn't too scary. And then we would do another and another and another. And I was like, oh my God, do you realize, like, at least for me, I'm like, I hit like every goal that I thought was like way off in the future in a 12-month period. And so it just goes to show, like, and I always joke around, like, I'm like, I feel like if you're in the BMS or the MBR, like, if you're willing to do the work, you feel like you're in warp speed. And it's one thing to sit there and like be inspired, but if you don't actually like change your habits and change your routines, like, that feeling that you're feeling won't really get you anywhere. So if you're listening to this podcast and you keep listening to this podcast, but you're still in the same place, I don't want you to sit here and listen to it and feel warm and fuzzy. I want you to actually take actions and create new patterns and behaviors inside of your life that you can implement that actually moves you forward, so that you can listen to this podcast and feel excited, but you also know inside of your own life, inside of your own business, that you're progressing forward to where you want to get in life and in business. So go ahead and wrap the show up today.
Yeah. So if you want to actually see what we look like and all of our lovely mannerisms and everything we're doing behind the scenes, go to bigmoneystylistnow.com. And if you are not yet on the wait list for our events for 2019, go to bigmoneystylist.com and put your email right in, and that will put you on the wait waitlist, and we will be emailing you very soon. Very soon.
It's not till November, but we're gonna.
Oh, but tickets.
Because it's getting. Yeah. That's all we're gonna say.
See you guys in 2019.